everyone. We'll get started in just a couple minutes here. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Chrissy Camilleri. I'm the Senior Coordinator of Communications for the Giants Community Fund and co-chair of Momentum, the Women's Network of the San Francisco Giants. On behalf of the Junior Giants program and the Giants Community Fund team, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening for our GameChangeHERS Spotlight event. And as you know, today we are celebrating. It is National Girls and Women in Sports Day. And for those who are unfamiliar, the annual holiday recognizes student athletes, champion athletes, coaches, administrators, and lawmakers committed to providing equitable access to sports for girls and women. And this is something that we as an organization are really, really passionate about. All of us here at the Giants Community Fund believe that the field is for everyone, especially girls. Through our GameChangeHERS initiative, we are on a mission to have girls make up 50% of participants on the field with us each summer. And we are getting close. This past season, as we welcome Junior Giants back to the field, we saw a 6% increase of female participation, making that a total of 39%. And this is just the beginning. We look forward and are continuing our pursuit and doing so in 3 different ways. So what we're doing is we aim to empower our existing Junior Giants leagues to add softball divisions to their program offerings, while also continuing to seek new communities that we can serve in this space. Number 2 is we aim to intentionally recruit girls into the program through specialized outreach and brainstorming ways we can communicate that this program is for them and it's accessible to them. And lastly, we aim to find strong, dedicated female volunteers to serve as role models on the field. And stick around. At the end of this call, we will share with you a few ways that you can get involved with our GameChangeHERS mission. But while we are on the topic of role models, I think it's time to introduce our very special guest. So I am super excited to welcome a longtime friend of the Giants Community Fund and the first full-time female coach in MLB history, assistant coach of the San Francisco Giants. Please welcome Alyssa Nakken.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm so glad to be here. Hello, Giants Community Fund supporters.
Hi, Alyssa. Thank you for being here, and share with us, where are you tuning in from tonight?
I'm currently in Scottsdale, Arizona, in a little hotel not too far from Scottsdale Stadium.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us on a remote location. And, you know, this is a special day. It's the NGWSD celebration, and try saying that 10 times fast. But we couldn't think of a better person to really chat with today. But before we dive into your story, I have a quick one for our audience. So prior to getting called up to the majors, Alyssa and the Giants Community Fund team, we actually work on the same floor in the front office building. And I always remember that Alyssa was the first friendly face outside my own little department pod that really welcomed me when I was an intern. And, you know, we would chat in the kitchen about being from the Sacramento area, and even had a post-work run club forming. But to know Alyssa is to admire her. So thank you again for being here.
Oh, thank you, Chrissy. You're so special to me and so special to the entire organization. So it's my honor to be here. Thanks for thinking of me.
Very kind of you. So let's dive right in. Tuning in today, we have a lot of young girls, some who may have gotten their start in the game, some maybe who are considering getting started. So through Junior Giants, we really aim to instill that love of the game with our programming. And so my first question for you is to tell us a little bit about how you first got started with softball. What made you fall in love with the game? What really hooked you and kept you wanting to pursue it further?
Yeah, so I grew up, I have 2 older brothers, and I think at a very young age, I learned the importance of being tough and building strength and building confidence. And I played a lot of sports growing up, and I'd also play a ton of just like pickup sports in our neighborhoods, but they were all boys. I was really the only girl who would be out there playing football, basketball, hockey. And my parents at one point were like, okay, we need to get you in like a girls sports league just to kind of be around more girls your age. So at 7 years old, I started playing softball, and I loved it. I had so much fun, but I don't think I've met a sport that I don't love. So I think my passion for softball is very similar to my passion for volleyball or basketball. But what I love about softball and really just any kind of sport is that competitive environment that you're constantly in. And I love teamwork, and I really love the ebbs and flows of a season. And in softball, I mean, I loved diving. I loved getting dirty. I grew up as a pitcher, and I just loved, kind of being able to control the game in a sense. And I just enjoyed really the competitive nature of the sport, and just started to compete across the country at 9 years old. And at that point, I was like, well, maybe I'll just stick with this and see how long I can go.
That is awesome. You're just an athlete through and through. It's so great to hear. But, it was that love for the game that really took you a long way. And, I have to look at my notes for this one because of your accolades, but that really took you to Sacramento State. You played first base. You were named the All Pacific Coast Softball Conference all 4 years. You were a 3-time All Conference selection and the 2012 Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year. So, okay, that's incredible. But what I'm curious about is, can you share a little bit about what those experiences on the field, like how did that serve you off the field as you navigated the classroom space or the community or social space? What were some of those lessons that you really carry with you today?
Teamwork was a big one, playing softball all throughout the country, and then also just playing a variety of sports. I was around so many types of people, so many different girls from different backgrounds than me, from different areas. We all had different experiences. And so I think at a young age, I was really starting to understand how important and beneficial it is to surround yourself with people who are different than you, and to have a shared goal and do everything you can to work together to reach that goal. And I think that ultimately is the biggest lesson that sports and softball in particular have taught me, and I've carried on into life and just every day. I think also just like time management and the development of routines and healthy habits are, they're kind of talked about a lot, especially at the start of the year with like routines and habit formation and all of that. But it's so key. I think it's really important that you find time in your day to really feel like you're in control. And I do that just by having some routines. And I think it's important to be able to shift your routine as needed. But, playing sports, playing softball, I learned, at a pretty young age, that importance of having a routine in order to stay just like locked in at doing whatever it is you're doing. For me, it was playing, and I just had to stick to a conditioning schedule, a strength training schedule, pitching schedule, hitting schedule, in order to compete at the highest level every single day. So those were some of the biggest lessons I learned.
Yeah, and that is great advice. And it's really, through sport, you're able to kind of build that foundation. And so when things get chaotic around you, you can kind of go back to that foundation that you built for yourself, that self-care, to really move forward and succeed. So I know that is really helpful to hear, for everyone in the audience today. But continuing your story and kind of, walking us through it. So following Sac State, you landed an internship with the Giants in the baseball operations department. You pursued USF sports management. And internally here with the Giants, you were working on health and wellness projects for our organization, like the Giant Race. And then January 2020 comes around. And I know this is probably a popular question for you, but walk us through kind of the events that led up to that announcement. And what did it feel like when you got that call that you were going to be joining Gabe Kapler's coaching staff? What did that feel like to you?
Yeah, I think like I can answer this in so many different ways and it's been amazing to like just reflect back on just that whole process from interviewing and then ultimately getting that offer. But I think, it kind of started, when you mentioned the internship, I was thinking back to my exit interview in that internship, and that was in 2014. And our now vice president of baseball operations had asked me, if you could have any job in baseball, in the Giants, like what would it be? And essentially like thinking, okay, out of like everybody who's here, whose job would you like to have? Like which path do you want to take? And I remember saying, I don't see it yet. There's a lot of aspects that I love about a lot of different roles, but I don't see what it is yet. And, it wasn't until Gabe Kapler offered me the job that I was like, oh, I see it now. This is what I wanted. But fast forward back to 2019. So 2019, at the start of it, is when we all learned that Bruce Bochy was announcing his retirement. And so he was going to finish out the 2019 season. And the timing was just interesting because I had also been in the organization for a few years now, and was really ready to take that next step in my career and kind of get back onto the baseball side and on the field. I had spent a lot of time on the business side for a few years. And so throughout all of 2019, I was just in and out of different people's offices, like learning what it was that they do on a day-to-day basis, what their vision for the organization's future was, where they saw the most need for impact in the organization. And I just started to kind of like basically just make my way through the front office and into the clubhouse and just kind of learn a little bit more. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm ready for a new job, here we go. It was just, I was really curious, and I just took it upon myself to go figure out what my next step was going to be. November 2019 comes around, and Gabe Kapler is announced as our new manager. And right around that time is when I started to work on some projects for baseball operations and Farhan Zaidi and Scott Harris, who are president of baseball ops and general manager. And then Cap getting hired started to get involved. And I think that's really when all three of them got to know me a little bit more and saw my work ethic. And we were able to talk more about kind of what Cap envisioned for his staff and some areas that he needed a lot of support in. And at the start of it, I felt like I was kind of consulting and like, here's what I think. And then about a week later, it turned into a pretty intense interview process that lasted, a month, a little over a month, and throughout the Christmas holiday break. But it was a pretty magical moment to just go through that and be able to have some time with my family around the holidays, and then also be interviewing for a potential elevated role, potentially elevated role. And so I really cherished that moment. And right before Cap made the offer, he had asked me, how have you felt these last couple weeks? How has this process been for you? And I told him it's been life-changing because I feel like I've just broken out of my shell, and my mind and my eyes are just wide open to everything that could be. And I felt just so inspired. And if any of you have met or talked or listened to Gabe Kapler, I mean, he's an incredible leader. And that's the type of leadership I knew that I wanted to be around if I wanted to continue to grow, not just as a professional in a career setting, but as a human being. So yeah, then he made the offer, and it was incredible. I just, it's like anything, right? A next big step. It's exciting. I know there are some people on here that are awaiting college application statuses, and it's an incredible moment to feel like, okay, this is the start of a next chapter. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things out of that is just, it shows the power of relationship building and curiosity, of just being curious about how the inner workings of an organization, are come to fruition. And then also like really starting the conversations and taking the initiative. And we love Gabe Kapler. He's been such a huge support of the Giants Community Fund. But what it sounds like is it's really a human approach to baseball and to leadership. And I think when you put people first, and when you really, like the fact that he asked you, how are you feeling in this process is awesome. And I just, it's so great to hear that that's the mission of it. And so as you were stepping into this new role, and now you've been here for a couple seasons in this incredible history-breaking role, can you share with our audience, what does that look like for you in terms of responsibilities? What are you responsible for in the clubhouse, on the field, in the dugout?
Yeah, so I'm an assistant coach, and it's quite like an amazing role for me in this moment in my life, because I'm the type of person that has never really been fixated on like one thing and pursued it. It wasn't ever just like, I only like this and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I've always been like, I love everything. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. So as an assistant coach, you get to wear so many different hats. You get to have your hands in so many different things, sometimes to your detriment, because then, you're pulled thin. So that's like a huge lesson that I'm kind of learning, is how to rate it in. But my main responsibilities are ensuring that our outfielders and our base runners are prepped and ready to go for every single game. So in spring training, I'll work very closely with them just in training and development. In this season, during the games, I'm in our batting cage prepping all of our pinch hitters to get ready to go into the game at any point. And leading up to that, I'll study what our potential matchups could be. So what relievers we're expecting to face. And prior to that, I would have done a lot of the reports on all of the relievers, and even a little bit on each starter too. In case our pitcher comes out and we need to have a pinch hitter go up. So I'll work very closely with our hitting group and develop what our game plan is each night as an offense. And then something that's just kind of like an ongoing thing is Cap and I just stay in touch all the time. We're constantly communicating about a variety of things, but one thing that we always check in on is just the overall pulse of the clubhouse and the pulse of the staff, and how are things going, and where can we improve our processes? Where is there a lack of communication? And we just want to make every single day as efficient and impactful as possible. We're working with so many different personalities and so many different like stressors that take place throughout a season. Couple that with a global pandemic and everything else that we're all going through. And so I think you worded it so perfectly. It's just, there's so much human element to coaching. And so Cap and I really try to keep a pulse on that and just make sure, if adjustments need to be made, we make those adjustments. And it's kind of a whirlwind, but those are some of the areas that I'm responsible for.
Wow, you have a full plate, but it's well-rounded, and it's just so cool to hear like what those logistics are behind the scenes. So thank you for sharing a little glimpse at that. Now, this next question I have for you is really for the young woman watching right now. And I want to read you a note that Winona, one of our Harmon and Sue Burns Scholarship recipients from Vacaville, wrote in her application. And I think you might remember I screenshotted this and sent it to you a couple months back, but this is what it said in her application. The person I admire is Alyssa Nakken. Sometimes it's hard to be self-confident like her because I love science and I want to be a materials engineer, and don't join the other girls who worry about how they dress or how people think of them. And people look at me like I'm different, and I want to follow Coach Alyssa's example. She was able to follow her dream by being herself, no matter what anyone else tried to tell her, and she is who I want to be. And I mean, even we've read this so many times and we still get teary-eyed, but like, let that sink in. And, I think my question for you is for young women who may be feeling the same way, how can you really find that inner confidence, whether it's on the field or off the field in social situations and in the world? What advice would you give these young girls?
Yeah, well, first off, that letter is like, something that I've cherished and will cherish forever. And it sounds like we're soul sisters, because how she's describing it, I'm like, yes, I feel you there. Inner confidence, just confidence in general is, it's a fascinating topic, and it's something that I'm hunting every single day. And I think what's important to know, especially for like young girls kind of going through this and maybe lacking confidence in certain areas, whether it's school, sports, or socially, the lack of confidence never goes away. However, you get more confident in the areas that today you're lacking the confidence in, but by taking steps towards attacking that problem, or, trying something you've never done before, you start to kind of build this bigger threshold of what, how your confidence level is. And so I think what's important to know, and what I have just been kind of being in this role, is what I've like realized is, oh yeah, there's never going to be a day, at least for me, maybe some people, but where you're just, I'm confident I can do anything, nothing scares me, I'm a brick wall. That's, for me, that's just not me. Like, I applaud those people where that can be you. But I think there's some beauty in not necessarily having confidence in this moment for this task that you're about to face, or this new job that you're about to step into, because it makes it really exciting. And I think it's important to do things that scare you on a pretty regular basis, because through those reps, if you will, you just start to build this strength, and this inner confidence really starts to develop and just grow and grow over time as you get older, as you start to attack and just face these challenging moments that everybody inevitably will face. So I think, just like to tie a bow on it, for young girls that may be lacking inner confidence in whatever it is that is coming up for them, I think it's important just to walk into it, go into it. The anticipation of something is always like the most stressful part. But then once you're in it, like, everything flows a little bit more. It's never easy, but it just starts to flow a little bit more. And that confidence kind of starts to build. It's a slow process, but it's really fascinating, because say 3 years down the line, you look back and you're like, whoa, I used to be like really scared to speak in front of my classmates, but now I'm on the school council and I'm speaking in front of the entire school every single day. Like, that's really cool. So it's just, I think that has been just something I've learned in the last 3 years, and it's really fascinating. And I think it just needs to be like announced that lack of confidence isn't like a thing you'll never have one day. Like, you're always going to lack confidence in something, but it's really important to just take steps towards facing whatever it is you might be lacking confidence in, and start to build that strength in there.
Yeah, I think it's a good combination of practice, but then grace. Like, if you practice it and keep going, and maybe one day you're like, wow, I didn't realize I could do this. Yeah. And then also, if you build that and then you come to a new challenge, you're like, oh gosh, it's having the grace of like, okay, let me take a second and figure out how to, build it again. So absolutely. I think you nailed it. And that's the best advice. I wish I heard that advice when I was younger too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a couple special guests who are going to join us now. So on our call, we have 2 Harmon and Sue Burns scholars with a few questions for you. So please welcome McKenna and Micheline Ma. McKenna is in the 12th grade and was inducted into our Scholars Program in 2017. And Micheline is in the 10th grade and was inducted in 2019. Both sisters were former junior giants, as you can tell by their lovely shirts, in our Milpitas League. Yeah, way to represent, girls. So welcome. And to kick things off, I'm going to pass it over to McKenna.
Okay. Hi, Alyssa. So,
hi, McKenna.
As you know, I'm a senior this year, so I'm going to be graduating and going to college. And so my question was, wait, I'm blanking. So what do you wish you knew in college, and what advice would you give to your younger self?
So I think I wish I would have studied coding of some sort in college, and Spanish or some other foreign language. Those are like two things I just wish I took more initiative in and focused on in college, especially in baseball. Like, there's so many analysts around, and I think it's really important. Like, coding is huge. And then, just speaking Spanish, being able to communicate with so many more people and is so beneficial. So those are kind of two things I wish I knew in college. And then advice to my younger self, I would really tell myself to just chill. I think I was somebody that thought everything needed to be perfect. I needed to have the perfect score on the test. I needed to have, the perfect batting average. I needed to be this like perfect person in all these areas, or like my day needed to be structured perfectly. And if a curveball is thrown my way and it takes me off my routine, like, oh my gosh, the whole day is ruined. And over time, in the last decade, I think what I've really realized is like, no, it's important to just kind of really just stay consistent. So I just picked up surfing about 4.5 years ago. And I think the greatest lesson that I've learned in surfing is one that I wish I knew as a college student, is that, there's ups and downs, right? These waves. And I think a lot of people, and me as a college student, when things were really good, we were winning, I was getting straight A's. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And just like really high on the highs. And then if, I didn't do as well, or we lost, or, family stuff or friend stuff was low, I got like, very sad and emotional, and, would show some like depressive traits. And I think what's really important is, yes, it's important to like feel emotion. However, what I wish I did a little bit better was just stay very, very consistent. So even when things are good, don't necessarily get too high on them. And so that when things are low, it doesn't just come and like ruin your day. So I think just being very consistent and really just looking at life and looking at certain situations from all angles and a broad view would have just really helped one, like my heart rate every single day and blood pressure. But two, I think I would have been able to be very present and enjoy the moment a lot more. And college is amazing. It's so fun. And I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to figure out where you end up going. But I know you have a bright future.
Thank you.
That is awesome advice. And now, Micheline, over to you. What question do you have for Alyssa?
Okay, so my question is, how do you manage your stress and balance your life?
Great question. I think, this is a question I would wish that I had the perfect answer to, so that I felt very balanced. But again, something I've learned recently is like, especially in this career, in baseball, professional sports, like there's no shot your life is going to get balanced, like just because of the schedule, the travel, the ups and downs of a season, and just like how much time is put into it. And that's okay. But what I've really learned is that like, I can harmonize my life, not necessarily balance, right? It's not going to be 50-50, but I can make like the things that I love in my life, or the things that are like my priorities outside of work, a part of my life, so that it like harmonizes with my work and my everyday. And so what's great is that I'm a pretty simple person. I don't need much. Like I love just like sitting alone or sitting with like some good music. I think what really helps me feel very good every single day is making sure that I'm nourishing my body with healthy foods. I'm not like a strict like health nut. However, I think like drinking water is very important. Like eating vegetables, highly important. If I don't do those things, like I don't feel good. And when I don't feel good, I just like, I can't show up as the best coach I can be, the best teammate I can be, the best wife, the best daughter. And so I think just those like healthy habits that we kind of talked about earlier, just like nourishing my body, like movement of some sort, whether it's running, lifting, yoga, surfing, like that's really important. And I think when I'm in that need of like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, like we're on a long road trip, just got home, I feel all out of sorts, a quick just jump in the ocean is like really all I need. Like 5 minutes, come back, I'm good, I feel set. So it's taken a lot of time just to find those little nuggets that help me feel good every single day and help me feel balanced. But yeah, like meditation has also been a practice that I've tried to incorporate a lot more in these last few years. And it just helps me kind of like get centered. And there's a lot we can't control in this life. There's a lot we can't control in this game or this profession, but doing those little things like help me feel like I have all the control in the world. And then I can just go on with the day and figure out what to do when things hit the fan.
That is awesome advice. And we swear we didn't tell Alyssa to say healthy habits, even though that's a big pillar of Junior Giants is our healthy habits program. That was all Alyssa. But Moss is, yeah, I know, seriously. I mean, you heard it from a professional coach. It's really important. Okay, Moss sisters, thank you so much for joining us. We're so proud to see you grow through our scholarship program and Junior Giants program. And thank you for celebrating with us. And Alyssa, I have one more question from the audience for you before we part. But our friend Callie asked, so great to have this opportunity to join us. With so many women rising in the ranks in various capacities throughout MLB, how do you see women's roles expanding in MLB maybe 5 years from now?
Oh, I see so many women in so many different leadership positions in baseball. I mean, I'm seeing it now that we're able to have like more people around us because of COVID and the restrictions are starting to kind of lift a little bit each day. I've been introduced like finally face to face with all of the women in our baseball operations department within the Giants. And it's just like been so inspiring to see and just hear their stories and start to listen to who they're connected with across the league. And you start to see these girls at work and it's like, these are difference makers. And like, this is only the start of their careers. Their ceilings are so high. And I can honestly, like, especially these last few days, I can see it in the men's eyes, like, oh, wow, like, she's incredible. We've never thought about doing that before, but that sounds like a great idea. And I'm just like, kind of like, yes, this is happening. And like, I know, like, especially in the organization, in the Giants organization, and with Farhan and Cap and Scott's leadership, they understand the importance of diversity of thought. And they also understand how important it is to support people that might not necessarily have ever been in these types of roles and, might be elevated into positions that on their resume, they might not be qualified for, but they know that the human is there and can do the job if they have the right resources and support. So I think that's important. And I think teams across the league and just in sports in general are starting to see that. And so 5 years down the road, I mean, I envision so many women in leadership positions, GMs, president of baseball ops, managers, like more on-field coaches, head strength coaches. Like, yeah, 5 years, I think we're going to see a ton. And I'm so excited for it. I'm here for it and am doing everything I can to like support and, keep pushing for this because it's really exciting. And you see it. And it's just been, these last few days have been amazing to be here and starting to see this all kind of come together. Because when I started, it was 2020 and we weren't around anybody but our own team. So right. I'm really excited now.
I love the energy behind it. I'm so excited to see this unfold. I think you nailed it, but I want to be mindful of your time. So Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us, for celebrating National Girls and Women in Sports Day with us. You're incredible. We love seeing you and catching up with you. So thank you again for tuning in all the way from Arizona.
Oh, well, thank you, Chrissy. This was such a pleasure. And I hope we can do this again soon.
I hope so too. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you.
And then one last thing as we close up here, we do have a quick call to action for all Junior Giants families and Giants Community Fund supporters on the call. who are looking to get involved. And we have a really simple call to action for you. So number one, you can take out your phone and scan this QR code and fill out a quick interest form for us. So you can either play, so join us in playing softball this season. In the form, you can see which cities are offering it. You could coach. We are always looking for coaches. You don't need experience, you just need heart. And lastly, you can champion a softball division. If that's something you're super passionate about, we need your help to get more kids, more girls into the game. So again, we'll put in the chat the survey link. We'll send it out to everyone who registered and put it on Facebook Live for you too. But again, we are calling on you to play, to coach, to champion. But without further ado, thank you so much for joining us. And on behalf of the Giants Community Fund, happy National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Thank you, and go Junior Giants. Bye, everyone.